Welcome to Say More, the podcast where we expand the conversation around what it means to be human. I'm Andy Spray, and I'm here with my co-host, Emily Lawyer, licensed professional counselor. We're answering your real questions, and while we're at it, creating a community where we can grow together and learn how to connect more to self in order to connect more to others and more to God. Hi.
We're here again.
I have some news for you. Are you ready?
Always.
It's political.
Oh, boy.
Did everybody tense up when I said that? We all love political news.
Where are you taking us?
I've got some important political news for you. We are getting the youth vote here at Say More.
Wait.
Yep.
What?
Did you feel relieved that that's what I meant?
You've done some grassroots polling.
I've done some polling, and we're getting the youth. We're capturing hearts and minds of the youth.
Definitely say more.
You know this, but I recently ran into a friend that I went to college with. We had not caught up the many years since college, but we ran into each other out in the wild, which was really cool. And we've since reconnected, and it's been really neat. And she is loving the podcast. And it's so great because she sends me a lot of really good feedback about episodes that mean a lot to her, or like who she's sharing it with, her friends and her family. And she told me she listens with her kids.
Incredible.
Can you believe that?
Incredible.
So we got together the other day for coffee, and I was like, I'm dying to know. Because I imagine 8, 9, 10-year-olds, we can't possibly be speaking their language.
I would think not.
And she said she's, maybe they don't listen to every episode, but she kind of pulls things out based on what she's already talking to them about. But her daughter, who I think is 9 or 10, this mom was saying to her, she goes, I love my friend Andy. Her stories work so well. Her anecdotes work so well. And her daughter goes, we should call them antidotes. First of all,
wow,
get that kid to Mensa right now. Okay.
That is so clever.
Antidotes. Is that not I've been dying over that.
That is so good.
Amazing. But I told her, obviously I loved that and thought it was so adorable and clever. And like I said, certified genius.
Yeah.
But I was like, when we got together, I told her, I said, think of the leg up your kids are getting.
For sure.
At 8, 9, 10 years old, they're understanding about anxiety.
Yes.
Or what anger feels like in their bodies, or how to have boundaries with their friends.
Yeah.
I was like, it's incredible.
And learning about it with a parent present.
Superstars.
With the relationship present, with the safety to ask questions, to be vulnerable, yes, amazing.
Amazing. So from here on out, all my stories are antidotes. Incredible, right? I've been dying to tell you that.
This also confirms for me what we also have been saying. And I love when you share stories from the field, from the community, right? The Say More community. Because I really believe the Say More listeners, our community, are curious. They are clever. They are looking to feel more empowered and equipped in their relationships and as they move through life. And that is just such an inspiring community to be part of.
It was very, very special. And I just told her how much we appreciate her having been on the journey. Because when I ran into her, it was the weekend the podcast launched. And so that's how it even came up.
All the way back to
season one. When I was with some girlfriends and she was with a friend, and we'd all went to college together. And it was like, well, what's up with you? What's going on in your life? And all my friends I was with said, oh, she just launched a podcast. And so our sort of reconnection has been all through the Say More journey together that she's been on with us. And I've just loved, it's been cool on so many levels.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's not just the kids. It's not just the elementary school kids.
Okay. Where are we going?
We're getting the youths. The teens. Okay. So I am the parent of teenagers.
Yes, you are.
My son and his friends have never once mentioned the podcast.
Not surprised.
They do not care. They don't know or care. Fine.
Not surprised.
However, my daughter, her friends, very excited.
Okay.
When they first heard, because sometimes I pick them up the days after we record. That's a frequent thing I do. And they said, oh, my God, Mrs. Spray, a podcast? Is it true crime? To which I say, kind of. The crime of people not taking responsibility for their emotions.
That's true.
Could be a crime scene.
That's true.
So my daughter's best friend, Sweetly, actually does listen, and she'll say, Mrs. Spray, I really liked your podcast this week,
Amazing.
which is precious. But all of these same friends were at a birthday party this weekend.
Okay.
And I guess probably to troll my daughter,
Okay.
we're playing the podcast. And the mom at the party was like, Andy, they're listening to your podcast. And my daughter just kept saying, it's so cringe, which I get it.
Yes.
I totally get it.
We don't take that personally.
But listen, I'm her mom. You are basically her aunt. And I asked her about it when she got home. I said, I heard they were teasing you about the podcast. She was like, yeah, I just told them, listen, I get this for free at home. She is a full-time subscriber against her will.
She's against, right, captive audience, whether she wants to be or not.
But I heard that some friends at the party, some of the girls, they have downloaded. So girls, if you're listening, Mrs. Spray loves you.
A different world than you and I grew up in.
Yes.
Again.
Was anybody's mom talking to you about your emotions?
No.
But
So
we have tried to, we are not necessarily going to say all the things. Let me rephrase that. We will be cringe to you.
yes.
However, this journey is open as wide as it can be for whoever wants to join us.
As we say in our subtitle, if you're a human, then this podcast is for you.
Yes. So we are glad you're here, no matter your age. We're so glad you're here. Now, speaking of cringe, buckle up. I got a game for us today. Okay? This is usually where the eyes start to roll.
It's true.
Which is fine. I'm okay with it. I'm comfortable. We're talking about resentment today. Mm-hmm. And we're going to play a little game that I like to call Where's the Beef?
Now, I told you recently, I think you and I are at our best when we are right on the line of absurd into just plain ridiculousness.
That's what we think. What do others think? I don't know. If you don't know what Where's the Beef means, you might.
People.
Yeah. It was from a commercial from the 80s where an old lady picked up the bun at Wendy's. I think it was for Wendy's.
Yeah.
And she was looking at, the other competition's burger. And she was just, this is too small. Where's the beef? Yeah, exactly. But if you don't know that, you're going to know it now. Because our game is Where's the Beef? And we are going to share, we have not told each other.
No.
Real and or fake beefs that we currently have, resentments that we're currently harboring, and we get to decide real or fake. So we get to pick out the beef. What's the real beef?
I said we needed like 90s radio shows. We need a soundboard where I can just hit the button and it plays the old woman going, where's the beef?
We forgot. We need the Where's the beef? We're trying to make it into a drive time radio. Shock jock. All right, are you gonna go first?
I'll go first. Okay, you have to decide true or false.
Okay. What's the real beef is what I'm deciding.
All right, what's the real beef? I've got beef with the municipal government of Washington, D.C.
Okay, already seems accurate.
Because of unprosecuted vandalism charges.
That's all you're giving me?
That's all I'm giving you.
Unprosecuted vandalism charges. I believe you have beef. It's easy to believe you would have beef with the government for not doing something, but I can't recall any vandalism that has happened. So I'm going to say fake beef.
Okay, that is fake.
Okay.
However,
It's based on a true
for
story.
different reasons.
Okay.
My actual beef is with the municipal government of Nashville, Tennessee.
I see.
Heads need to roll
Okay, tell me about it.
for literally paving paradise and putting up a parking lot
Okay.
with my beloved childhood favorite vacation destination of Opryland, USA. They, in the 90s, what year, we would look at your face.
I'm sorry. I was just going to ask, that's an amusement park?
It's not just an amusement park.
I'm sorry.
It was a destination for families
Okay.
in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And then somebody decided in the mid to late 90s to tear it down and build a mall on top of it.
Oh, that's sad.
And there was a documentary that actually just came out about the devastation of not just Nashville, but surrounding communities. So many of my very, very, very most fond memories took place at Opryland, USA.
I get that, Beef, because why would you not want a wonderful family?
I would still go there.
Vacation spot. Okay.
And so this is salty beef because I am
salty beef.
Very, very
trademark it. Salty beef.
Very upset.
Okay. My beef is I didn't phrase it in the same way. So I'm trying to calculate how to phrase it in the same way. My beef is with modern cars. I have a beef with modern cars.
That's it?
That's it. That's all I'm giving you.
Oh, I got even less than...
Yeah, you did.
You have a beef with modern cars. Sure. I'm going to say that has to be true.
Well, I don't drive a modern car. So...
Okay, well, I'm still going to stick with true.
It is true. It is true. I didn't phrase it. I didn't give you enough because I didn't think to phrase it in the same way. You get a point. My feeling is modern cars are insane and ridiculous. Okay, I have a firm belief, taking it back to politics, this is my campaign promise.
Okay.
All cars should be at least 75% analog. Modern cars, right? I don't mind the screen for the GPS and the music. I should not have to scroll through 6 menus to adjust the air conditioning or move my seat.
Yes.
Now, I do not drive a modern car. I want buttons and levers and slidey things. That's what I want. But when you rent a car or all new cars, everything is digital.
It is true.
And I have a big beef with that.
It is. I share that with you. When I nannied, of course, drove a very modern car for the family. And I once left all 4 doors open overnight, and it was a monsoon rainstorm. And I woke up the next morning to find like an inch of water, pooled water in the car. Every single thing on that car, I took off driving. The trunk started flying open. Beepers were going off. I couldn't operate any of the windows.
Because it was all digital?
It was all digital, and the whole thing shorted out.
I hate it. So that's my true beef. And you correctly identified the real beef.
That's true. You want me to go next again?
Go next. Go ahead.
I've got beef with granola bar manufacturers for slowly and systematically adding more and more cinnamon to every bar they make.
This is true. You have a beef with cinnamon. There's something you told me. You're like, listen, I can't. It's too much cinnamon.
The cinnamon lobby, I think, has a lot of power. This is big lobby. Cinnamon. They're doing backroom deals somewhere. Why? Why do we need that much? And I have tried and tried and tried. Literally I just want a little something portable to stick in my purse so that my blood sugar doesn't crash. And every single one that I try, take one bite.
I don't know what bars you're eating.
Throw it out the window.
I don't recall it being a very cinnamon-forward genre.
Now that I mentioned it, believe me.
Okay.
You're going to notice.
I find cinnamon delightful.
I do too. Just not that much.
Not that much. Okay. That's a true beef.
I feel that's a lot of resentment.
All right. Here's another one. I'm going to give you more for this one.
Okay.
Having to pre-order your food on an app before you go to a drive-thru.
Wait a minute. My knee-jerk was to say, yes, that's true. But I do know you actually kind of like that because you can customize things easier. So I'm going to say that you don't have beef with that.
I do not have beef with that. Listen. You have picky people or a large group and you want to see your order and make sure everybody's things get put in there. I want to be able to do it. I want to be able to I do like talking to people. I'm not against talking to the people at the drive-thru. But when your child wants to remove this and that and add this and that, I just think it actually makes it better.
There's a lot more control over it.
A lot more control. And sometimes you can game the system and earn points and stuff. Free fries.
Free Fry Friday.
Just saying.
At a certain place that has a golden arch.
There's an upside.
All right, next up. Yep. I've got beef with NBC executives. This is going to be a freebie.
Okay.
For canceling one of the best shows of all time.
Was it Friday Night Lights?
No. Well, they did cancel that, and I am upset, but I got 5 seasons of Friday Night Lights. This one was canceled after just 1 season. Criminal.
Freaks and Geeks?
Freaks and Geeks.
Okay, that's a true beef that we should all have. That was terrible decision making.
I still feel like writing a letter, writing an angry email. What in the world? One of the best shows of all time.
Truly. And we only got 1 season. That is a certified, pure, 100% Angus.
Rotten Tomatoes, yes.
No, your beef.
Angus beef.
100% pure USDA beef. Okay, here's mine. I have a beef with vanity sizing.
Oh, wait, I don't understand.
Vanity sizing.
Oh, you mean like a tag that's smaller than it actually is?
Like you go shopping.
I don't know how you feel about that one.
What do you think? Is that a real beef?
I'm going to say you do have a beef with that.
I do not have a beef with that. Now listen. Women's sizing is all over the place.
It really is.
And if you are a man listening, this might be the first time you realize that women do not have standardized sizing for their pants the way you guys do.
Yeah.
It is a crime. I do have a beef with that.
Yeah.
I think that's insane. Literally in the same store, you could be different sizing depending on the pants. So until we get standardized size, I mean, that is true. I hate the non-standardized sizing. You know, it's always a guesswork of which size you're going to be. However, you know, it's good marketing. You want me to buy those pants? You made me feel a little bit.
And you made me feel a little bit more self-confident, or maybe not self-confident, confident.
Lie to me a little bit. Until we get standardized sizing, go ahead and lie to me a little bit. Not a beef.
Lie to me. All right, finishing up. This feels like a little bit of a lie to me. I've got beef with Kiehl's Cosmetics for changing the formula of my very favorite face mask.
Ooh. This feels like a real beef. Well, hold on. There was something that they changed that you've talked about more than once.
That's true.
But I don't think it was Kiehl's. I think it was La Roche-Posay.
Oh, my goodness. What a good friend.
So I'm going to say fake beef because your real beef is La Roche-Posay.
It is, and I actually even forgot about that one. When I wrote this, I was thinking of my beef with L'Oreal mascara because they changed the formula on my voluminous.
Why do they do that to us?
This is
Why do they do that to
the
us?
plight of, and I know for our male listeners, you have the same thing, right?
Yeah.
You have some favorite product that you love, you've grown to love over the years, and then for no good reason, they decide to change it. And things that was a small, piece of joy in my life suddenly has gone away.
Yeah, was going to be what I was going to say. It's like when like restaurants take away a menu item and you're like, why would you do that?
Why would you do
Sweet Green. Okay, are you listening, Sweet Green? Why would you take away the best item on there? Make it hard for us? Just let us have something. Life is hard.
It's true.
Let us have it. Okay, here's my last one.
Okay.
I have a beef with the parents at my children's school. And I will be saying no more about that.
Oh, my goodness.
I have a beef with the parent community at my children's school.
This one feels a little bit dangerous. Sure.
Okay.
True.
That is true. Now, specifically for those of you who
are listening,
drive in the carpool lane and do not pull all the way up.
Now you've roped everybody in.
Yes. And you do not follow the rules of the carpool lane and kids are walking everywhere and you're supposed to pull all the way up and then everybody else, the line gets all delayed because you wanted to let your kid off sooner. And it's just chaos. And every morning I have beef with you.
Every parent who is listening right now just got on your side and said, yeah,
yes,
so do I.
Feed that beef. That's our, since we don't have the soundboard.
Shut it down there.
Shut it down. All right. Have we embarrassed my children enough with that one? Let's move on to our question of the week. Our question this week comes out of a live event that we have, and it says, how do you let go of expecting reciprocation from others?
How do you let go of expecting reciprocation from others?
Yes.
Okay. Once again, this is evidence that our Say More community is getting more and more comfortable, getting really honest with ourselves. Because, again, what a wonderfully vulnerable question. Let's break it down a bit. So we know today's episode is going to explore expectations because that's what the question names. So that's one element. And the question is also saying, not only do I have some sort of expectation, but I also expect it from others too. If we keep going and read between the lines even a little bit more, this question is saying, I want to let go of the expectation. I don't like it. And I'm struggling to do that. Maybe I've tried what I know to let go of the expectation and it doesn't seem to be working. You know what all that is a recipe for? Resentment.
Yeah, big time.
And I think the person asking this question is already very wisely recognizing resentment can be a silent killer in relationships. We've been exploring a lot of silent killers in season 3, silent killers in relationships, right? But I think resentment might be a little different because I think whereas we might not even be aware of my attachment style or might not even be aware of overfunctioning, with resentment, we might actually be able to name this one. We might be able to say, oh, I know it's resentment. It's just that either I don't know how to let that go, I don't know how to move through resentment, or, and this is where resentment starts to get really squirrely, I don't want to let it go. I want to hold on to that. So that's what we're going to work with today.
Sometimes feels good.
Feels real good.
Hold on to that beef.
Sure does.
Well, could you start us kind of on the fundamentals? Is resentment considered an emotion? And if yes, or I mean, I don't know, but maybe define it for us.
Yeah. So technically, yes, in that it's a physiological reaction or reflection to either an internal or an external stimuli. Remember, that's our working definition of what an emotion is. It's a physiological response, meaning it involves my brain and my body, to either an internal stimuli, a thought, a belief, a sensation in my body, or an external stimuli.
Okay.
It's an indicator. An emotion is an indicator that tells me either my needs are being met or the emotion tells me that my needs are not being met. Like the gas gauge in my car. It gives me data about myself. So for that reason, I do like to approach resentment with curiosity, just like other emotions. However, it's also unique for a few reasons. We categorize it as anger, which it is. But it's anger that's already gotten away from us a little bit. By the time I name it as resentment, it's already anger that is starting to regulate me a little bit rather than me being able to regulate it.
So it's a little bit past anger?
It's a little bit, it's starting to get to the point where the anger itself has grown or taken on a shape where I'm already a little bit out of control of it. Okay. So, I mean, even as we're naming resentment, there's a little bit of a buzz to it, right? It's seething.
Yeah.
Resentment is one of those words that sounds like it feels, I think, like resentment. It can feel kind of good because it feels powerful. It gives me a sense of control, like with the grudge that we were naming in our game. And it also feels a little scary because it can get so out of control. It's sort of the imagery of a furnace being stoked and just getting hotter and hotter, or hot lava in a volcano. And then, boom goes the dynamite. and then we say, whoa, what just happened? Where did that come from? So we're going to proceed with caution, like a bomb expert,
okay,
a little bit, and let's be curious about it together. All right, first up, let's just start with being curious about any stories or attributes or labels that we all subconsciously assign to resentment. And we've already named some of these. We've named that resentment can get away from us really, really easily. And then it can smolder and intensify and wreak havoc. Or maybe resentment, maybe the label or the story that you believe about resentment is that it doesn't blow up. Instead, it turns into a grudge. And once a grudge takes hold, it doesn't want to leave.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what I know, or that's been my experience with resentment. Both of those come with all manner of cost, whether it's the seething, holding on to, smoldering, or it is, erupting like a volcano. They come with cost, mental cost, emotional cost, relational cost, spiritual cost, even physical cost. That type of rumination that comes along with resentment, there's surges of anger over and over again. So there's cortisol and adrenaline that's coursing through our bodies over and over again. There's a physical cost to resentment. So we form this belief about resentment based on all that. And then we're probably going to label resentment a bad, quote unquote, bad emotion for that reason. And again, like I'm naming, my guess is a lot of us listening right now share a lot of those beliefs about resentment. I don't know that I would label it bad as a bad emotion per se, because again, I do truly believe that all emotions are data for us. However, resentment is different than believing that sadness is a bad emotion or anger is a bad emotion. Jesus felt sadness. Jesus felt anger. I don't think Jesus felt resentment, because resentment, like I said, is anger that I'm already stewarding in a way that's imperfect. So because of that, and all of those stories and, experiences that maybe we've had with resentment, either in ourselves or in someone else, we often really, really, really want to try to shut it down even faster than maybe some other emotional experiences. Or this is one that I think we really try to shame ourselves out of really fast. I don't want it to turn into bitterness, so I stuff it down. I hear that a lot. People will often say, I hate that I'm feeling resentful because my fill in the blank was a resentful person. My mother was a bitter person. My father, my, brother, my grandmother, whatever it is, was a bitter person. And so I need to stop feeling resentful ASAP. It is also important for us to remember that God has never instructed us to try to power over our emotions, no matter what it is, even if I'm already imperfectly stewarding it. Instead, as we're all practicing together, we notice it compassionately, curiously, and then we want to steward that emotion according to my values. We talked a lot about that in our anger episode way back in season 1. We'll link that in the show notes in case anybody wants a refresher. So in reality, this is one that we want to practice approaching with even more curiosity, because it does get away from us so fast and can fester so easily. So that's all the more reason for us to be practicing it together right now. So just like I said, as we're diffusing this bomb very carefully, I'm going to pause this for a second. This might feel a little Stuart Smalley, but we're all just going to exercise a bit of self-compassion together right now. It might sound like I can accept that when I'm feeling resentment, it's a sign that I'm stewarding my anger imperfectly. That's allowed, because I'm not meant to be perfect. I'm still worth being loved and accepted, even in my imperfection. And I want to learn more about this so I can do something differently with it.
Feels like we should say that out loud in front of a mirror.
In front of a mirror multiple times.
Okay. That's one where you cozy up with yourself on a sweater and you look in the mirror and you say, you're good enough. This isn't this doesn't align with your values, but you're going to curiously explore so that we can do something different.
Correct. You are still loved. You are still accepted.
Okay.
And that's going to give us the safety to keep being curious so that we can do something different.
So we like to talk about emotions being information for us. They give us data about ourselves. It's like the dashboard of a car. It's telling you something. What is resentment telling me?
What's the data resentment is giving me? Great question. Anything in the anger category gives me the message that there is something I value that is being trampled on or feels unprotected. So resentment is giving me partially the message that there's something I value that is being trampled on or feels unprotected. Resentment in particular says there's something I value that's being trampled on or feels unprotected. Not once, not twice, but over and over.
That's what I was going to ask.
Over and over.
If it was like the repeat of the,
Yes. Now, what are some things that we value that might keep getting trampled on? Here are a few that I hear pretty often. One of the big ones is autonomy or agency. That my autonomy getting trampled on or feeling unprotected would take place when someone steps into my lane, when someone maybe tries to control or offer quote unquote encouragement and it's actually control, right? So some of these things that we've talked about lately where maybe someone is naming you should fill in the blank, or you ought to, or I can't believe you're not, or why won't you, right? Anytime that someone is trying to kind of jump into my lane, that starts to trample on my autonomy or my agency, and that can get trampled on over and over and over again and maybe might result in resentment. Especially if somebody is using guilt or shame or accusations or blame to try to control me, definitely there's going to be some resentment that's going to start forming. Along those same lines, maybe the thing I value is people recognizing appropriate responsibility, people staying in their lanes, like we talked about a few episodes ago. So if someone is using accusations or blame to try to get me to own the consequences of their choices,
sure,
or trying to use guilt or shame to control me into owning the consequences of their behaviors, and then it keeps happening over and over and over again, I'm going to feel resentful. I'm going to feel resentment. Maybe the thing I value is justice. Maybe I am someone that has a very clear sense of that. So if something keeps happening that I feel is unjust or unfair, then resentment can take hold. And some of us have a more natural bent towards that than others, both as a result of, just temperament or personality, and it's nature and nurture. All of those are good things to value. It's a good thing to value justice. It's a good thing to value recognizing appropriate responsibility. It's a good thing to value autonomy and agency. On top of all that, something that I see often that is involved with resentment almost every single time is an expectation. Okay? An expectation as opposed to a hope.
Okay, break that down.
So unmet expectations are one of the biggest sources of resentment that we experience. And I like using emotions in my work because emotions keep us honest. So one of the ways that we can do that with resentment is by asking the question, all right, was this thing that I value that keeps getting trampled on over and over and over again, was it a hope that I had that someone might do that? Or was it a hope that I had that the world would do that? Or is it an expectation? Often when I ask that question, people say, well, I don't know. And I say, okay, well, what emotion did you feel when you didn't get it? And if they say, well, I think I felt disappointed or sad, okay, then it was probably a hope. If they say, oh, I feel really angry or resentful, that other people are not valuing that the way I do, then that tells us it was an expectation.
So if it was a hope that you had, I sort of hoped things would go this way, and you don't get that, you might land more in the disappointed category.
Right. A hope is a wish, a longing, a desire.
Okay. I wish it turned out this way, that sort of thing.
Correct.
If you had an expectation of something, hey, I expect that when I am in a working relationship with somebody, it's going to look this way.
Yes.
Or I expect in my marriage it will be this way. And when that doesn't happen, you're saying that probably more likely means you're moving into resentment.
And I'm probably going to find myself naming, well, I feel resentful when that's not happening. And it can be hard to differentiate.
Yeah.
Because as humans, we form expectations all the time, consciously and unconsciously. And we often don't even know that we had the expectation until I start feeling resentment and it tells me, oh, that expectation isn't getting met. Expectations say we have a mutually agreed upon commitment. You said you're going to do it, so I can expect it.
Okay.
So if there's a broken commitment or promise, it means you owe me something. And yes, when there is a broken commitment, we're supposed to feel anger. But a hope, like I said, is a desire or a wish. If I have an unmet hope, I feel sadness. The problem is, in a mutually agreed upon commitment, I need to name my expectation and allow other people to decide if they want to agree to it.
I was going to say, because
Yes?
it sounds like someone could have an expectation that they've just invented themselves.
Enter resentment into the chat.
Okay.
Resentment says, I'm not going to name the expectation to you, and I'm still going to get angry every time you don't meet it.
Even though you've never said that and I never agreed to it.
Correct. It's an assumed, mutually agreed upon expectation, but only in my mind.
Ooh, okay.
So now I've not only upgraded it from a hope to an expectation, but it's an imaginary contract.
Right.
So now I'm poisoning myself by judging people for rules or expectations that they don't even know exist. And here's how it plays out. Let's say the thing that I value that's getting trampled on was recognizing appropriate responsibility, okay? If I'm feeling resentment at not getting that, there's a good chance I'm harboring an expectation that other people also value recognizing appropriate responsibility, and an expectation that they're going to live out that value the way I would. We tend to project those
The way
things.
I would is an important statement.
Right?
Yeah.
That is, we form those, again, we're bringing a lot of grace there because we do it consciously and unconsciously. But I project both of those onto other people. And here's our trombone slide. Right? Other people are other people. They get to be other people. I am my own person with my own thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and behaviors. And the other person is their own person with their own thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and behaviors. And this kind of blurred boundaries also happens a lot in people pleasing, which is another major source of resentment.
Ooh, okay.
Meaning I say yes when I want to say no, or I don't speak up when I need to. And even though subconsciously I'm doing that for me, right? People pleasing is actually me doing what I think the other person needs or wants so that I can feel a little bit better inside, even though subconsciously I'm doing it for me. I don't realize that because it's subconscious. And I have this secret expectation that the other person is going to return the favor at some point, right? This is how I operate. I operate selflessly. I operate sacrificially, right? Never thinking of myself, wink, wink, with people pleasing. Technically, I'm mainly thinking of myself.
Sure,
yes?
sure.
So I assume the other person is going to act selflessly and sacrificially with me. In fact, I might believe that's the only way to get them to meet my need, right? Now, you and I both are going to bring a lot of compassion to that coping mechanism because, as we've named, we're both recovering people pleasers. And I've also felt a lot of resentment in my life.
Sure.
As a result of my people pleasing tendencies, right? Because I'm keeping score.
Yeah.
And I'm never going to get what I think is owed me. And so that is another area where resentment is giving me some data that, there's something that I value that's being trampled on over and over and over and over again. But it's an expectation, and it might even be one that's only in my own mind. I think the unmet expectations show up a lot in resentment towards parents as well.
Okay.
Because we have expectations of how parents are supposed to parent, how they're supposed to care for their children. And we've established, in a lot of our learning together that none of us get everything we need because all parents are imperfect humans raising imperfect humans in an imperfect world. However, not all childhoods are created equal. That imperfection might show up anywhere on the spectrum from mild infractions to abusive neglect when it comes to parenting. And in what I needed and wanted from my parents, I think that line between expectations and hope can be really hard to discern. It's a very complex scenario because I'm asking, well, what if my resentment is stemming from something that someone did owe me? And honestly, I don't know that I have very emotionally satisfying answers because it's just a really hard and complex scenario when it comes to that particular brand of resentment.
Well, and it sounds kind of like our original question is saying somebody owed me something.
Yeah.
they're expecting reciprocation from somebody else. And so if that's the case, maybe this answers my next question, but what keeps us from moving through resentment or solving
from resolving
Is it because somebody does owe you something?
Yeah, and I think this gray area that we just named with the what I needed from my parents is one of them that can keep us
because
from moving
a child
through resentment.
Does need something from their parents.
Yes, and that's the thing. This is one of those scenarios where me too. I'm like, well, it is an expectation and not a hope that a parent won't abuse their child.
Sure.
Right? I feel fine about naming that as an expectation instead of a hope because I believe God names that as an expectation. And for me, I think one of the things that has been really helpful is my faith. I'm supposed to feel fury and rage at an unmet expectation if a parent is abusing their child. But resentment says, I'm additionally supposed to be the one to exact payment myself. That I'm supposed to be the one to collect what's owed. Even if I'm trying to demand payment by ruminating over and over about the unmet expectation or holding on to the offense, right? Even if that's the way I'm trying to collect what's owed to me. I might even try to get revenge in my own mind or payback in my own thoughts or narrative in what I believe about them, right? That I form this story of who they are, and then I hold on to that, and that's my way of feeling like I'm collecting what is owed to me.
Can I pause this here for a quick second? Because I think this is good, and I don't want to move past it too quickly. What I'm hearing you say is our brains, when we are feeling resentment, our brains are looking for payback.
Yes.
And it might not be, okay, I'm walking over to you and saying, pay me back for this, and that. It is our brain's way. That's partially why we're just cycling the story over and over again. Or we are inventing narratives about that person. That's what our brain is doing.
Yes.
That's what it wants.
Yes.
Interesting.
And we're going to say a little bit more of this in a second, but because anything in the anger category, including resentment, also motivates us to protect. That's what that emotion motivates us to do. So sometimes I'm trying to get payback to protect my
future.
Well, future. I could protect my sense of vulnerability that I feel like I'm out of control of the future.
Oh, yeah.
I could be trying to protect my devastation or shame that I felt as a result of the unmet expectation, right? So much of what can happen when that resentment starts churning is I'm trying to get a sense of protection.
Yeah.
It's just the way that I'm going about it is, as we named earlier, going to end up costing me so much. So as a Jesus follower, and I'm just speaking for myself, Scripture frees me from that. I have learned so much about this from one of my favorite teachers, Tim Keller, and I'll link some more of his resources when it comes to resentment in the show notes. But I want to share a verse. It's from the book of Romans, chapter 12. I feel better personally when I hear this verse. Maybe someone out there needs to hear this today too. And it reads, "Dear friends, never take revenge. Leave that to the righteous anger of God. For the scriptures say, it is mine to avenge. I will pay them back, says the Lord." Okay, that's what it says in the Bible. I'm supposed to want vengeance. That's what it says. I'm going to validate my need for justice because that is God's design in me. I believe personally that I am made in the image of God. So if God, in these verses, if God is saying he has a need for justice, then that means I'm allowed to have a need for justice. There's something in me that really likes that.
Okay.
In fact, there's a part of me that's like, yeah, get him.
Get 'em.
Right? Especially if it's an offense done to me.
Sure.
Or someone that I see who's very vulnerable.
We like justice going that direction.
Okay. Except I'm not a holy God.
Right.
Right? My vengeance is an unmanaged emotional outburst. God's is a controlled response to something that destroys life or destroys his creation. His vengeance is holy. It's perfect. It's not like our idea of vengeance, which is more punitive in a you hurt me, so I'm going to hurt you kind of way. His is a purposeful love to set things right when things have gone wrong. God's wrath is a reflection of his response to evil in the world, to offenses against humankind that he loves with an unfathomable love. Now, sometimes he sets things right by allowing people to endure natural consequences of their own actions. Sometimes he sets things right by intervening directly. So one of the things, though, that can get in the way of us resolving our own resentment might be that I want to do that.
Sure.
Right? It might be that the hard part is surrendering control of carrying out that justice myself to God instead. And that's not a weakness to surrender that control. It's a display of faith. Now, if you're listening, you may share the same faith as me, or you may believe something else. But I think there is something in all of us that longs for that has a desire for someone to set things right when it's gone wrong. Right? It's why you like Law and Order.
Yeah, I do.
Right?
I was going to say, I do think it's probably universal, regardless of faith, to have a sense when something is wrong and want it to be made right.
Set right.
Yeah.
It's why I loved seeing a state trooper chase down and catch a reckless driver that almost clipped me at 90 miles an hour the other day.
Right.
But if I'm trying to take that on myself.
Right. If you're trying to own your what's the word I want to use? Own the payback to yourself at all turns.
That's where I can get stuck in resentment.
That's where I can get stuck. Because it's not going to look like pulling over somebody who's driving fast. It's going to look like
something that's going to take up a lot more of my time, and I probably actually am going to engage in it, whereas with a speeding driver, I'm more easily able to let that go.
Right.
Yeah. Some other challenges that we might encounter when trying to resolve resentment, it can be really hard to be curious about what I'm feeling or believing like we're doing today, because resentment demands that we stay focused on the other person.
That's true.
So that's another challenge.
All I can think about is what you've done to me.
Yes. And then even if I am able to stay with it, we tend to want to minimize the anger or the sadness or the pain or the disappointment or the shame or the disgust, because again, resentment feels more powerful.
Yeah.
Right? It feels less vulnerable. So all of those things are some of the challenges that we might face when trying to resolve or move through resentment.
I'm hoping you're going to tell us there is actually a way to move through it, and that it's not just like, oh, it's just one of those things. Good luck out there, everybody. So what do we do? What do we do with it?
Yes. All right. Our grand finale. If resentment gives us the message that there's something we value that's getting trampled on over and over and over and over, then like we said, then resentment also motivates us to protect what's unprotected. It's just that the way resentment tells me to try to protect costs me so much. And in actuality, it doesn't even really protect. It just gives me a sense of protection and control, and that's short term. So I still end up feeling helpless and powerless and still resentful. Okay? So we're going to practice this together really quickly. Go ahead, everybody listening, let yourself bring to mind some person or a situation where you're feeling some resentment. Okay? It might be a friend, might be a family member.
Okay.
Might be a coworker. Maybe it's even God. Maybe that's where you're finding that your resentment is most strong today. All right, now that you've got it, our first question, what is it that I value that's getting trampled on or feels unprotected over and over and over and over? Is it that you value autonomy over your thoughts or emotions or behaviors or even your own body? Is it that you value someone owning what is theirs to own instead of asking you to own it? Is that the thing that you value that's getting trampled on? Is it a sense of injustice that you value that's getting trampled on? Is it that I'm people-pleasing and secretly expecting them to follow suit. Okay? If so, then resentment for all of those things might be a sign that I need to name or reinforce a boundary. And it might be naming or reinforcing an external boundary. That would be, if someone is trampling over autonomy with my body or something more tangible. Or I might need to name or reinforce an internal boundary for all of those. Letting myself recognize where that line of separation is, and then allowing someone else to own what is theirs to own instead of it getting into my yard. Is the thing that I value that keeps getting trampled on an expectation instead of a hope? Is it an expectation that's been named? Is it an expectation that's been unnamed? If so, I may need to name it as a hope instead, and then practice forgiveness by letting that grief and disappointment move through over and over and over again. Is the resentment from an expectation that wasn't ever named? If so, then I start with naming the expectation to the other person, right? That's how I protect it.
Yeah.
And remember, when I name that expectation, it's an I statement. I feel fill in the blank. I feel an emotion, right? I feel sad. I feel scared. Not I feel that. That's an accusation couched in an I feel statement.
I feel that you are terrible.
Right. It's I feel, I need, I'm willing to, I'm not willing to. Those might be ways that we name an expectation to another person. And then I allow them to decide if they want to agree to the terms. That might be the way that I need to protect what's getting trampled on over and over and over. Or maybe it was a mutually agreed upon expectation, and the person trampled on it anyway, over and over and over. And I was too young, or there was too much of a power imbalance for me to protect myself. It wasn't safe for me to name or set a boundary then, and maybe it's still not. Or maybe the person isn't alive anymore or is estranged. Then I might need someone to walk with me as I name all that anger and shame and contempt and devastation in practicing forgiveness both with myself and with the other person, which, as we've also named, is not just a one and done, right? So that might be the way that what I value gets protected or cared for, is by I'm stepping into that really hard process of feeling the pain that only I can feel, but I want to have support around me and someone to walk with me through that. Am I seeing someone as an extension of myself? So that must mean they value the same things I do, or they want the same things I do, or are going to behave or believe the same way I do. If that's the case, then I might need to manage my expectations or downgrade that to a hope instead, right? So all of those different ways are things that we can do to still protect what we value. And it's allowed to be protected. It's supposed to be protected. It's just I'm going about it in a very different way than how resentment tells me to try to protect. Now, why would we do that? Why would we endeavor in such hard work? Because there's peace at the end of it. There is calm and security, real security, not a false sense of security at the end of it. There's more space for love at the end of all that, which is, again, I think what our listener was hoping for in asking the question.
Right, because, they very sweetly were saying, how do I let go of this? Yeah. And so it sounds like what I'm hearing you say is that it is reasonable and understandable to want reciprocation from somebody who's wronged you.
Yes.
That starting with saying that is telling me something about what I value being hurt or
protected.
Yeah, needing to be protected. And that really the onus is not on you to get that reciprocation. What it is on is for you to explore where that's coming from, and compassionate curiosity to sort of dig through, why is this coming up in me?
Yeah.
And then from there, deciding, there might need to be further conversations, or further discussions of boundaries, or what our mutual expectations need to be. But really getting payback, quote unquote, is not leading to anything helpful or productive. And on the other side of moving through resentment actually is the thing that you want, which is peace and more space for better relationships.
Yeah. Well said. Figure out what I need to do on my end first.
Yes.
And then if that also involves another person to resolve their resentment, then sure. But there is peace and calm and more space for love at the end of that.
But like so many things we talk about, is like so much of what's happening, we have to start with ourselves.
Yeah.
Basically everything we're saying on the show, right? I can't even think of an example.
I think
it starts with us.
Yeah.
Everything, even when someone else is wronging you, and we're certainly not undermining that. Even when somebody else is wronging you, the way to work through it always starts with us. And once you do that work, then you can figure out, okay, what does this relationship need to look like, or change, or anything like that. But it starts with us. And if you're here, that means you're already willing to do some of that work. Because why on earth would you be listening if you're not? So that tells me you're already willing to do that work. And yes, it is work. That's the reason we call it work. But on the other side of that work, that is the space where these beautiful relationships and lives filled with peace get to be. And that's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
So make sure you're checking out the show notes. There's going to be linked to other episodes and some other resources for you in there. As always, we want to hear from you. So drop us your questions and let us know what you want us to say more about. And we'll see you next time.